Hello, everyone. Welcome to this advanced package webinar, where we're going to take you through a familiarity update of the message within this component of ESS BIZTOOLS. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I want to start with the Business Plus newsletter, which we prepare monthly and send to you to badge with your firm name and send to your clients and prospects. This is a marketing tool to assist you to communicate with your clients and prospects that you're able to offer a wide range of commercial services to assist your clients to survive in business, and for those who wish to upscale their business operations quite significantly. The client mentoring and coaching resources is to help you mentor clients on particular subjects. And we've got about 12 of those. You can select whichever ones you want to use with your client. But I also suggest that you use this material for your team training. Bring the team together, get them to think tank the questions of how they would use these resources with particular clients. I think you will find you will get amazing results. Client seminars are a great way to communicate with your clients. Now, you can run the seminars as a one-on-one seminar just for that client, or promote it and have people turn up to your premises or into an appropriate facility and present a seminar to them. Or you can present webinars, promote them to your clients and to your prospects. You've got a choice of 35 seminars that you can select and present. You can run a program, one a week or one a month, and present and promote it on your website. There are 580 papers in the ESS system that you're able to download and use as you see fit. You can badge the material with your firm name and send it to your clients. These papers are ideal to give back up to your professional advice so that your clients have a better understanding of what you're explaining to them. And this will assist in informing your clients that you can offer a broader range of commercial services to assist them to survive in business. The SME needs analysis is arguably the most important component of ESS BIZTOOLS, because the big problem that many accountants and bookkeepers have is convincing the SME business operators that you understand business operations. You understand the commercial circumstances that they're operating in, that you're just not an accountant or a bookkeeper that's working on taxation matters or writing up books or preparing a nice set of annual financial accounts. They want to know that you know something about their business. The way we've configured this within the SME needs analysis is to give you a large number of points that you could raise with your clients, little discussion points, to find out what's worrying them, what wakes them up at 3 a.m. The budgets and cash flow forecasts, the first ones for tradies. Now, you must have some tradies as clients. Some people have got quite a large number of tradies. How does your tradie set their charge out rate? How do they target the profitability they want to make? Do they measure the productivity that they're achieving from each team member? Daily, weekly, monthly? It's an interesting point. And the cash flow forecast for retail selling prices. Retailers have got an ambition to earn the targeted profit, just like tradies have. But they've got a different set of circumstances, haven't they? They're starting off with different ranges of products. Some they're able to mark up quite significantly. They're their stars, high volumes and high markups. Then they've got the cash cows. They're also large volume items, but the markups tend to be quite low. Then we got the problem stocks, the ones that were left over from last year's promotion. The colours have changed for ladies this year. Last year they were yellow. This year they're going to be red. You've need to get rid of that stock. And then we got the ones that no one wants to own up to, the things that have just reappeared. In some cases, as I've observed, they've been caused by computer automatic reorders as stock got down to a certain level. You need to watch that because you can find that a problem stock item reappears. And the professional services firm is for professional firms who are offering services very similar to the tradie charge out calculator, but we haven't got the external purchases on behalf of customers and the markup that your client's going to retain for themselves or subsidize their charge out rates with. So they're all there and able to be used. Now, I'm only giving you a brief overview today because we're going to go onto the website shortly, and I'm going to show you where you can find these items. Later on during the year, we'll be presenting individual webinars on each of these items. So we'll work through in detail to show you how you really use the material. The Early Stage Innovation Company was created in legislation about 7 years ago. It's put in place to help young companies, not young people, but young companies, normally under 3 years of age, in some cases up to 6 years of age, with turnover of less than $200,000 and expenditure of less than $1 million in the previous 12 months in both cases. These companies will be undertaking innovative activities, and this particular methodology of raising capital is unique. It's unique in that the investors get paid something by the Australian government via the Australian Taxation Office. Fair income, they do. The investor receives 20% of their investment in the company up to nominated levels. For the retail investor, that's $10,000. For a sophisticated investor, that's $200,000. That comes off their tax bill. They don't use it in that first year. It gets carried forward until they're able to use it. But there's more. If they hold those shares that were issued as part of this process to be declared to be an early stage innovation company by the tax office, they hold those shares for more than 12 months and less than 10 years, they pay no capital gains tax on those shares when they sell them. That could be a very significant amount of money that they save. So I think you need to understand how early stage innovation companies work. Could be great for some of your clients who are wanting to scale up. Research and development. Research and development is a huge area for SMEs. This is your opportunity to become familiar with it, work your way through the product package. In the advanced package, you've got everything from the original idea. Someone's got an idea, goes and asks the boss, can they spend a few extra hours researching it? And we track the journey. They get approval from the boss. They then put together a bit more of a committee. They go to the directors. They get approval from the directors. And then they start on the process. They don't have to apply to the tax office at that stage, but they need to keep the records. That's where you come in. Not to undertake the research and development activities. That's the client's role. But your role is to monitor that the forms are completed, the paperwork is done, because that's very important. And then the returns need to be lodged with the Oz Industry and then the Australian Taxation Office. So we've tracked the whole process. You can use it for your clients. You might be amazed how many people are in your community who are interested in undertaking research and development activities. Now, there's other packages within the advanced package that I'm not featuring in this overview because it'll take us far too long to present it. This is just a summary of some of them. We've got 3 PowerPoints on this, so I'll just go through them. And then we've got the next group, things like Chief Financial Officer services, crowdsourced funding. Now, we'll be running separate training webinars on these during the year, which you can attend, of course. So that's the other packages that are included in the system. So I now want to move into a new share, and we're going to go to our website, which you can now see on your screen. We're talking about the advanced package. So you go to here and you click on Get Content. And we had something additional put on recently. We click on there and it just reconfigures these little boxes, or little rectangles, whichever way you want to talk about them, which are there to assist with identifying the products that we have. And I have just got to share the screen again. Okay, so the first one we want to look at is the Business Plus newsletter. We go there, we click on Get Content. The content will come on the screen now. You can look at it, you can read the preamble. So for each one of these packages, you have a preamble. You can read it. We haven't got time now, but you can go on and have a look at yourself. And we're going down till we get the read content. So this is the content. And this is a list of the newsletters that have been produced. I'm going to the May newsletter, and we'll just go through till we find the Business Plus for May. So you can see that that's there, and that's how you go about finding the newsletter. Now, when we run the actual webinar on Business Plus, we'll go through it and look at the various components within that package. We're just giving you an overview today as to where everything is. The client mentoring and coaching. I'm just bringing up now. We'll download the content. And this is the section where we've got various headings: purchasing or commencing a business, introductory management, experience management, dealing with banks, business planning. And it gives you, and more, it gives you some information to be able to sit down and talk to your client. And one of our strong recommendations is you use this for your team training before you actually talk to a client who you're going to talk to about some of these issues. So it's there and able to be used, and hopefully will give you what you're looking for. The next one is client seminars. We're going to download the content again. Now, there's a whole range of seminars. I'm not going to go through them now because it takes a fair time, and we will do that in a separate webinar, but I'm just showing you where they are. You can click onto those seminars. You'll have the organizational material. You've got the papers, the PowerPoint slides, everything's there. You just click on it and away you go. Your role is to read it and then present it. It's as simple as that. The SME needs analysis is the area which I indicated before is arguably the most important area. We've got 3 packages you can select from. So we'll click on select content, and we'll call up what we've called the simple SME one. That means it's the easiest. And again, we will go through this in a separate presentation. But how can you improve your business? These are matters to raise with your client, to get them discussing issues over a cup of tea, cup of coffee, or a wine, if the client's happy to have a drink, and get the client relaxing. Get them to talk about what worries them at 3 a.m. or what wakes them up at 3 a.m. and get those issues sorted out. Next one I want to refer to is the budgets and cash flows. Now, there's already videos been prepared for the tradie charge out rate calculator, the professional fee calculator, and the retail sales calculators. There's a lot of material in there, as you can see on the screen there now. But we're going to download the content. And I'm going to go to a particular form. You've got all this other material that's part of this, that you download that. And again, we will have a separate workshop, training presentation on this item. So this is the tradie charge out rate calculator that I'm bringing up now. So in the trading, there's some suggestions there in the overall instruction area. One of the big areas that's missed, I found, when I look at charge out rates that people are prepared, they forget the overheads, the labour overheads. They're quite substantial. And what we've done is given you, for your clients' full-time employees, in effect, 36 variables. And because there's 6 in each of these and there's 6 of them. And what we're looking for you to insert is the annual leave. And if it varies, you go on and do it on a different chart and the other components. And we'll go through this in more detail later on. So we determine the labour on-cost percentage, which is going to vary for each of those groups. The information is then transferred in from the labour on-cost calculator. What you've got to fill in is the number of individuals and their salaries for each of these employment categories. And the total of the labour budget is then determined. There are separate areas for the part-time employees and casual employees. We then show you the budgeted overhead expenses. You complete that yourself based on your client's particular situation. We then want to look at the budgeted markup and on the external purchases. A lot of these tradies spend $500,000, $1 million in every year in buying products for their clients, whether they're painters, they're carpenters, they're whatever they are. They're buying external material for the clients. And how much do they mark it up? Some people don't mark it up at all. Other people mark it up. People say they're going to mark it up, and then we find out they haven't marked up. You just want them to consider what they're doing. They can have a write-off or write-downs if they want to, or they can write up. And then the system is then going to record for you what the targeted income is from the sale of labour. And we then go through some internal calculations, base time and tradie charge out rate calculators is then determined, and the system will then give us a proof. So it'll go through each of the team and tell you what the amount of income they're going to produce during the year, and that will then be compared to the budgeted profitability. It will come within $1, so that you're able to have a summary like you can see there now. We will have a more detailed worksheet on this at a later date, and you will be able to get a better appreciation of how that particular function works. The retail trading package, I'll just go in to get that. We're in the same area, but I did close out. The system gets a bit jumbled if I try to do too much in there at once on a webinar. It won't be that problem for you when you're working on this. Okay, so the system has gone back and started at the retail pricing calculation. There are some instructions there which you can work through. We go through the same approach to calculate the labour on cost. We'll calculate a labour budget. It's not as in much detail as what it was for the tradies, because we're not selling the work efforts of the individual employees, are we? Well, we've got the budgeted overhead expenses in the same way. We then got the financial analysis, and that's looking, and I obviously overlooked mentioning this on the tradie. We had it there. What's the return on investment that your client wants? What's their profitability? Because we were building profitability targets into that overall charge out rate calculator. The system then calculates what the targets have got to be for a retailer, and what we're able to insert what they believe their overall gross profit will be, and we'll, in a session, we'd be able to give you a better component of that. Then we have the sales mix calculation. So these are some worksheets whereby you're able to do some what if type calculations with your client. This go through and list the main products they sell, how much they think they're going to pay for them in the year, what they're proposing to market up, and what the markup would be. And they go through and work that out. And down the bottom, it will show you whether they've achieved the targeted profit target. Now, if they haven't, you could redo it here and show them some variations. Perhaps we should be suggesting, well, is it possible to improve the markup here from 90% to 100% and so on, just to see what the result would be. We've got 3 charts there that you could use to illustrate that to your client. We will have a separate training session on that so that you can get a better appreciation of how this all fits together. So I hope that you're getting a better overview of how ESS BIZTOOLS fits together to enable you to be able to offer these services to your clients. The next one I want to talk to you about is the Early Stage Innovation Company. This is the company that I mentioned earlier, has got great benefits because there's an incentive from the Australian government. I don't know of any other capital raising process in Australia where the government pays a reward to the investors. Now, obviously, that was because the government, which was then led by Malcolm Turnbull, a man who knew a lot about a private company investment and was very successful at it, I gather. And he wanted to try to attract more investors to seriously look at Australian companies that were producing interesting products. So if we just go through this, we can look at what we have here. There's a whole range of material. For each of these product packages, there is a procedure control form that guides you through the process so that you know where you're going. But the main document I want to show you now, and again, we will do a full review on this particular package in a training process. I'll just take this back to the beginning. So this is the form which we've prepared to assist you to go through and do the determination on Early Stage Innovation Company. The company has to be under 3 years of age, in some cases under 6 years of age, turnover under a figure of $200,000, not including any grant from the Accelerating Commercialisation Grant, expenditure under $1 million, and there are some variables. The company can be up to 6 years. We won't go through that today. We'll look at that when we do a detailed overview of this particular package. But then we need to go through 1 or 2 tests. The first test is the gateway test. There are a number of questions and the client earns points for answers that qualify with the target that the question has related to it. The company needs to generate 100 points, and if so, they're self-qualified as under the gateway test. Now, they're going to keep all the documentation. That will be your role. Make sure that's all kept and signed off on. Now, those tests relate to things like research and development, already having raised $50,000, been admitted to the accelerator commercialization program, been in an accelerator program, already have raised $50,000 from arm's length investors in the company, already owning some patents or plant patents. So we go through that, and without going into too much details at this stage, we get the result. And if it's 100 or more, you have self-assessed, as long as all that documentation is legitimate. And we have forms in the package that you'll be able to complete, so that you've got a complete record. Because some of the potential investors, I'm sure, will want to see that. They'll want to make sure that this company is going to qualify, because they're making the investment partly because they're going to get these benefits from the tax office. If they can't pass the gateway tests, and many companies won't because they're very young, they've only been in business for 12 months, 14 months, they can move on to the principles test. The principles test has got 5 key questions. They have to submit an answer to them. In experience, I found it's got to be more than a yes/no answer, at least an A4 page for each question. It's 5 of them. I had one client, though, that supplied about 100 pages of material relating to these questions that had been prepared by an external consultant who was an expert in the industry that particular project related to. That information for the principles test has to get submitted to the ATO, and they and Oz Industry then adjudicate as to whether the company is going to be classified as an early stage innovation company. The tax office then issue an approval letter. We will go through that one again in more detail when we have the presentation that's targeting the early stage innovation company. I just want to show you where it is so that you know where to go to if you get someone that's interested in being made aware of how this could work to their benefit. These companies are all going to need business plans, budgets, cash flow forecasts, projected balance sheets, an idea of their vision, where they're heading, an idea of how to deal with external investors, an understanding of how corporate governance works from a board of directors point of view, because they'll probably need to appoint, in fact, they should appoint 1 or 2 external directors to help them through this process, people with some experience. And they need to understand all aspects of that process. I now want to move on to the research and development, which is here. Research and development is a huge area for SMEs, and we can download the content. There's a significant amount of information in research and development. In the advanced package, you've got access to our complete story on research and development. In some of our earlier packages, in the financial, the advisory intro package, you only get access to a very small component and a little bit more in the starter package. But when we get to advanced, you get everything we've got on research and development. The concept for those other packages is so that the accountants or bookkeepers have got some basic information to be able to give to the client to answer a query. We have 45 business advisory services forms, which cover a whole range of subject matters that need to be considered. Now, it'll be a very rare client that's going to need the whole 45 of them, but they're there and you could work through them. And as I said, we will be having a separate training session on this area later on. We then have 13 flowcharts, because we found that flowcharts is a interesting way to make a presentation on this particular subject. So here's the flowcharts that you could sit down and have a discussion with your clients. But first of all, do it with your team so that they understand how all this works. So they'll be on the lookout for people who are undertaking research and development and talking to their friends when they have a barbecue or whatever, so that people get an understanding that your firm is conscious of all of these commercial realities that SMEs have and can assist them. So it starts off, you talk about the idea, and you see here we got links to papers. We got 12 papers on research and development, the various aspects of it. Rather than put it all together in one gigantic paper, we've split it up into a number of 12 separate papers. What's the project? It's a good idea to have a small team. So the guy had the idea, has gone and talked to the boss. The boss has said, okay, I can allow you and two other people, I'll nominate who they are, and you got a month and you can have 10 hours a week. You work on this and bring it back to us and we'll have a look at it. So they're the small team then does the preliminary investigations. And then at some stage, of course, someone needs to make sure that the business is going to be eligible. Now, the eligibility criteria basically is the applicant has to be a company, and that's who has to incur the cost of the research and development. So you can't incorporate the company at the end of June and claim expenditure from 1 July the previous year in the fiscal year, but the company must be the entity that's incurred the expenditure from the beginning of the R&D project. The total expenditure has to exceed $20,000 in the financial year. Doesn't have to be only on one project, it can be on a dozen projects or more. And records need to be kept. We then look at who's going to coordinate it. We need to make sure that prior art searches have been conducted, and we've got a definition and an example of how prior art works in that BAS reference there. And who's done the research on the prior art. A lot of that these days is done on the internet, but we need to get documentation, dated documentation that resulted in someone within the client's team deciding that there's no prior art registered on this particular matter. That's very important, because by the time any taxation inquiry comes about this, or an Oz industry inquiry, it might be in 2 to 4 years' time. So we need to make sure we've kept the material. We've got to identify the core activities. So this is the run through on how the research and development process works, which you can look at for your clients. And we will be undertaking a detailed training session later in this year on research and development, so that we can move through that at this stage then. So that's the overview. I should have mentioned earlier, if any of you do have any questions on any matter as we've gone through them, please don't hesitate to send me an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au, or make a telephone call, 074724 11118. I now just need to so if you require further assistance, please give us a ring. And we will get back to you. So thank you very much for your support of ESS BizTools. That's just the front of our website. And I look forward to hearing from you. Stay safe. Have a great day. Goodbye.